Welcome to Business Women Australia's live stream on YouTube. Kathy McKenzie, it's gorgeous to have you here.
Oh, Lyn, it's always lovely to hang out with you.
Well, I have the Kathy McKenzie today talking about why, what the value of coaching is and what the best coaching accreditation is available in Australia at the moment. We're going to talk a lot about our relationship and our partnership between Business Women Australia and Fire Up Coaching. For those of you who don't know who I am the National Director of Business Women Australia. And Business Women Australia is the leading business community of female leaders in Australia. We are the fastest growing and most engaged community, I believe. We have over 75 to 80 events a year. And we've been doing that despite COVID. A lot of what we do is virtual and with roundtable discussions. We've also got chapters that are in-person events around Australia. So if you want to step up and become a chapter convener, I'd love to have a chat to you. So reach out to me at lyn@businesswomenaustralia.com.au. And you can hear more about Business Women Australia by visiting our website as well. So let's talk about coaching, Kathy. I'm really interested in hearing what your thoughts are around the value of coaching skills in today's environment.
Look, it's never been more prevalent than the last couple of years as this pandemic world has thrown everybody out. And at the moment, you'd have to say that we haven't all changed as organisations because we want more diversity or inclusion, or we want to allow people to work from home and enable greater family connections and all of those things. COVID forced everyone to change, whether we liked it or not. And likewise, that now means that some of that very authoritarian, you have to be in the office, I have to see you working from 9 till 5, it just doesn't fit anymore. And with such a skill shortage, leaders who can demonstrate that they have coaching skills are the ones who'll be able to engage people and keep those relationships strong, so that they're collaborating with people, not being authoritative and kind of that command and control leadership, which we all knew that went out in the 80s, but unfortunately it really didn't go out until the last 2 years. And now there's just been this massive shift in terms of people wanting to have a leader and work in organisations where they're valued, where there's work-life, where there really is work-life balance. It's not just talking about it, it's actually doing it. And that's why coaching, if you look at, there's just been the International Coaching Federation, which is the global body for coaching, has just released their latest survey. And it's just a fantastic collective of particularly that younger, the millennials up until 35, they expect to be coached. They expect to have professional coaching as part of their package, and they don't expect that they're just going to be told what to do. They want to be involved in their career. They want to have a say in their career paths. And so if they've got leaders who don't have coaching skills, they're going to go somewhere where the environment is more suited to their values and their value systems.
Oh, absolutely. And so what is a certified coach? I mean, there's a lot of coaching courses around. What do we mean by a certified coach?
A certified coach is someone who's done coach-specific training. And I must admit, I'm guilty of being one of those people who had held a senior leadership role in an organisation. And when coaching, so I'm talking 20 years ago now, when Marilyn, the lady that I did my coach training with me, said, "Oh, it's different, Kathy. Coach training is actually different." I went, "Oh, look, I've done lots of things. I've done organisational psychology. I've done all sorts of things. And it is different. An accredited coach is someone who is certified in 20 years ago, I wasn't sure whether the ICF would be the global body or who it would be. There was a number of professional bodies representing coaches then, but the ICF has, and it's got a strong female leader who's just been named one of the top Forbes leaders. So she is amazing, Magda Mook. And it's the International Coaching Federation over the last 20 years has developed core competencies, and they just updated those in 2020 to really be expressed in the language that is relevant to organizations now. So embodying a coaching mindset is one of those core competencies of being a certified coach. So a certified coach is someone who has done coach-specific training and actually understands that there are unique competencies to coaching, because otherwise you get people who are highly skilled and have done a lot of different things, but they're mentoring, they're telling people what to do. And a coach doesn't have to be a subject matter expert. A certified coach has the training in the tools and techniques that you utilize to partner with someone, and it is an equal partnership. So it's not about egos and me being better than you. A certified coach recognizes that they are partnering with someone in an equal relationship to draw from that person the resources that they have. And it's often just that people have the answers within them. And as a coach and as a certified coach, you trust the process of coaching and that people can find, excuse me, people can find the answers within themselves.
It's a classic. When you describe that, what's coming up for me is this concept of empowerment. We hear that word being utilized a lot, and as managers or leaders, we think we're empowering our teams by giving them the resources and giving them the direction and giving them advice on how to do things, and sort of solving problems for them as they come up, and paving the way when barriers and obstacles are discussed. But really, when you're talking then about an equal partnership, that sounds like it's really more true to the essence of what it is to truly empower another person.
Absolutely. Like if you are truly embodying what they call embodying the coaching mindset, it means that you've got the skills in terms of linguistically to ask powerful questions, and that you also have the understanding of when people respond to you. So communication is a response you get. If you don't get the response that you thought you were going to get, it means you need to change the way that you ask the question. And so often when people don't get the response that they wanted, they just go harder back along the same line. And a coach has the flexibility to come at things and just embodying that, embrace that capacity to just be curious and to see, okay, perhaps that person didn't get the self-awareness from that question. There needs to be a different way that I can get them to have perspective. And particularly, a really skilled coach recognizes that silence holds a lot of power. And when you ask a question, if someone doesn't respond immediately, that doesn't mean that they, don't know the answer to the question. It means that they're finding that answer. And so often what you hear in meetings and corporate environments is that there's just not a lot of real active, and there's a difference between active listening to and really what we call global listening. Coaches listen at a level where they're not just listening for the words, and what's being said, but how it's being said and where it's coming from. They're able to pick up how someone's processing information and, neurologically, what filters is that information going through. And they're able to pick up people's thinking preferences and their values words, so those marker words that tell you when something's really important to someone. And a certified coach has the capacity to keep adapting and just kind of staying in the conversation, but shifting it around so that it's expansive. And that's what a certified coach expands and contracts conversations as they need to. But generally, the whole idea of an expansive conversation is that it opens up someone's awareness to something that they perhaps knew, but they hadn't actually really trusted that inner knowledge, or it's bringing to the conscious things that were perhaps unconscious, and making people recognize that they can change and that they can shift.
So you mentioned, you've got a background really deeply understanding a lot around organisational psychology, and I know you were a master practitioner in NLP as well. over these, there's 2 decades that you've been involved in coaching, what are the shifts that you've seen around that sort of depth of knowledge that's really started to bring coaching into the forefront of what I would say is contemporary or very future-focused leadership practices?
I think the biggest shift is that there is that recognition. Look, the recognition has always been there that coaching is not actually like, anyone can call themselves a coach. There's that challenge with it, is that someone doesn't actually need to be a certified coach. What has shifted, though, is that 10 years ago, no one challenged, if you were saying that you were a coach, whether you were qualified to do that. Whereas now organisations, because there's a proliferation of people calling themselves coaches, there is actually that acknowledgement that professional coaches have followed a learning path and continue to follow a learning path. And what's really shifted in the last 20 years is that recognition that we need to have a very different approach with this new, kids were raised very differently over the last 30 years to the previous 30 years to that. And they've been engaged in everything from the time they were 3 years, even younger. And you can't expect that someone gets into a workforce after having all of this open communication and being able to express themselves, and that they're going to then just accept that, actually, that might happen at home, but that doesn't happen at work. You need to suck it up. This is the corporate environment. And that kind of attitude is just that's gone out the window with the pandemic, it's a good thing that leaders now have to demonstrate that they have the coaching skills and the leadership skills. So emotional intelligence is closely tied to having good coaching skills. That there's that 4 pillars of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-management. And so those days of the manager who just lost it and yelled and screamed, it's just not acceptable, and it's not tolerated in today's workplace. And that's where the other 2 pillars of emotional intelligence, which is other awareness and managing other relationships, is, those 4 pillars underpin also being a good coach. So it's that combination of leaders being required to have coaching skills combined with emotional intelligence, combined with a capacity to change themselves and not just hold on to the way they've done things in the past. There's been I subscribe to the Harvard Business Review, and there was a really interesting article about unconscious bias and how there's always been a percentage of requirement in the States. I don't know if that happens here, where it's around diversity training and inclusion, but it's called unconscious bias training. And it often gives people the sense that, actually, these things are unconscious and my prejudices won't change. And that's actually not acceptable in today's workforce, to say that, that's just how I am. That's an unconscious bias that I've got. We really need to shift from that into what does diversity and inclusion, and that's what you'll hear so many organisations talking about. What does diversity and inclusion training that works really look like? And that looks like giving leaders a deep understanding of emotional intelligence. And we use an emotional competency report by Roche Martin that goes through 10 leadership skills and looks at how, if I'm coaching someone around emotional intelligence, that high self-confidence and low empathy is not a good combination in an emotional competency report. So good coaches are actually, recognizing the intersection of all of these different aspects of who we are as a person, and that it's not good enough anymore to say that that's who I am and I won't change. That we need to challenge that things are, once something's brought to the conscious attention of someone and you're coaching them around that as a professional coach, you have to have the skills when you are challenging someone around, perhaps something that's totally politically incorrect, and they just think, they need to lighten up and not get so defensive. I know even last week, something came up about women in business, and I was at a meeting, and that's right, it was about Grace Tame being angry. And I said, well, good on Grace. Grace has got every right to be angry. And I had about 3 or 4 people go, oh, but no. And I said, no, in this day and age, they are right to be angry that in Parliament, nothing has been done to change that. It's all lip service. And authentic coaches or certified coaches are able to really challenge someone around, like if I was actually coaching those leaders, I would not let them just say, oh, look, we've acknowledged it and, we've spoken about it. I would be wanting to keep coaching them until they realised what impact it's having on a whole range of levels. And that's where, as a certified coach, you understand, the difference between just behavioural and really shifting something organisationally at a deep values level, because that's what that conversation's about, is deep values and respect for the individuals. And, there's a lot of complexities in human beings and organisations. And that's why, as a coach, you need to be highly skilled to be dealing with those complexities.
Yeah, well,
sorry, that was a bit of a rant, Lyn, wasn't it?
Oh, I love a rant from Kathy McKenzie. This is your passion and your life is, and you've worked with so many people and had these incredible mind shifts, along the way of your own and those that you're walking the journey alongside as your clients in your coaching world. And I'm obviously coming now to the pointy end, my Cert 4, and about to start my diploma in business and personal coaching. I've been amazed at the amount of research, the robust nature of the frameworks, where you've been drawing within the program, the intensity of the knowledge that you've built, each of the tools that are the most evidence-based tools that you're using and teaching within the Cert 4. So tell me about the Cert 4 from your point of view. Why do 6 months? It's a very intensive Cert 4. There's a lot of shorter things. I know a few people have done sort of like weekend coaching accreditation and things like that. And here I am, I'm still getting my hours up and putting in my assessments and reading my feedback and then improving. There's a lot of hours of practice in this pathway. It's not for the lighthearted, but I feel like I'm doing something that's really, really good.
Well, let me back a question to you, Lyn, because I'd be a bad coach if I didn't ask a question at some point. What are you recognising is the value in doing so much learning?
Oh, well, certainly for me, it is the pathway of self-awareness that has been massive for me. The skills that I'm learning and being able to truly listen has been fantastic. I always thought I was a pretty good listener, but I'm also an exceptionally good talker. So actually having skills that help me to drop in and be truly present to what the other person is really wanting to achieve, and to let go of my map, to be aware of my own map and to let that go, because I'm very good at working out a path, the straightest path between A and B as I see it. That has been my superpower in my work, in my career as an executive, as a CEO, in my roles as an advisor and a consultant. I can tell you the quickest path for A to B, and in my mind, I'll work out what I think needs to happen. But the coaching has actually helped me really drop into where it is that someone else is actually really wanting to and needing to dig into to fully explore what is getting in the way of their own achievement of their successes, and what their own desires are, and what their own kind of complexities are that they actually have the capacity to understand, to then have the tools to be able to help them achieve what those shifts are that they are driving, that that, they're the masters of their own universe, not me. And that has been a fundamental change. It's impacted the way I speak to my husband. It's impacted my ability to parent my children and walk the pathway alongside them of their own development and their own empowerment and owning their own pathways in life. And I think with my co-workers, my teammates, I'm a better team player. And in the leadership roles that I have, I'm a better leader. So I've become this massive convert of the power of coaching, and even the reach model. I've been amazed. I've been telling people about why I chose Fire Up for Business Women Australia partner with. The thing that I was really impressed with was that you were accredited in terms of the ICF pathways. And coming from a professional background, I'm a university qualified. I very much appreciate, knowledge and lifelong building. I understand that things change as more information comes through our research and evidence-based understandings. And then if it's actually tied to an international accredited program or a body, that as we learn more in life and through the course of the next decade, that being associated with that, the course will evolve as the needs of coaches and leaders evolve through time as well. Like something that worked 10 years ago, isn't going to necessarily work, in the next 5 years. So I loved that. And I was very impressed with how organised Fire Up are. I mean, in terms of your systems, the processes, the uploading of the dates, the webinars, the catch up. I was traveling during a part of that Cert 4, but I was able to catch up through, being able to jump online through the system, watch the recorded webinars that I missed out on. All this stuff it was so slick. I'm like going, God, I'm so glad we're partnering with you guys.
And we're so happy to be partnering with you, Lyn, because it's been a huge, huge investment in time and resources to get it to what it is now. And thankfully, I've had 2 people come from competitors in the last, couple of months and say that just our technology, the way that it's been put together is they just can't believe how simple our systems are and how easy to navigate and the interactivity. And that's been a very deliberate thing, because the first 6 months we were using the same technology as lots of other coach training providers. And it was I couldn't stand getting into the back end of the learner management system. So for me as a leader, I was like, well, I can't expect other people to put up with mediocre. And that's not the quality of what we do either. Fire Up's always been regarded as one of the highest end coach trainings. And I'm proud of that. I've never wanted to be one of the fly-by-nights and 2-day courses. And, we're very proud of the fact that it is a rigorous qualification. And interestingly enough, if I'd have asked you before you started the training, Lyn, you would have said you were self-aware, correct?
Totally.
Although
I must admit, I would have said listening isn't listening's something I struggle with, but I'd never had the tool. There's an art in listening.
Absolutely. And that's why, it's, the art and science of coaching. It's an art and it's a science. And particularly important for us has been keeping the integrity and the quality in going online. And we probably haven't had the volume of students last year because our attention was on getting the feedback and taking the student feedback, integrating that, and then I'm 100%. I'm excited about the people starting at the end of March, because it is the best coach training in Australia, and we're partnering with Business Women Australia because I am passionate about, women in business, not perhaps having to put up with some of the things that you and I probably did when we started our careers. I think I remember a famous interview with the Commonwealth Bank when I was telling him about my business and how I was going to have this, national training accreditation. He said, well, if your business is so successful, why are we sitting here having this conversation? I'm thinking, if a man was asking to fund a business, would you have said that? I remember being absolutely horrified that it's like, oh, if your business is going to be so successful, why are we having this conversation? It's like, well, because to grow, you need finance. And so I'm passionate about women supporting women. And I've also experienced that in workplaces as well. Women who don't coach women around them because they like to hold on to the power. And that's women and men, people who don't want to empower others. And you know what? That doesn't sit at all in 2022 either. And that's why I'm so excited about our partnership and have been since we started. And I just know it's going to go to a whole other level this year, because the coaching survey from 2020, right, it was only launched 2 weeks ago. The data in that just shows us that coaching for the next 20 years is not going to be something that's, what do they call it? Fly by night fad. A fad. It's not a fad. It's an expectation of skill level for leaders.
Absolutely. So for anyone who's tuned into this or watching this video, we'd love to have you in the Business Women Australia and Fire Up pathway. The Cert for in business and personal coaching. We have various intakes during the year. You'll be able to see the dates on the Business Women Australia website. I've popped up the link there. It's an incredible opportunity, whether or not you want to build a coaching business or a practice, or whether or not you just want to improve your skills and add it as another powerful ability to be able to coach others. Then this is a really awesome pathway to do. It's been fascinating to do the Cert 4, and I can't wait to start my diploma. Kathy McKenzie, thank you so much for your time today. If anyone has any questions, reach out to me, lyn@businesswomenaustralia.com.au, or you'll find Kathy McKenzie. We're both on LinkedIn as well, so make sure you link into us. We'd love to hear your questions. And if you are thinking about doing a certification or doing an accredited coaching course, I highly recommend this one.
Thanks, Lyn. And, we've got a lot of government departments that's starting to do this too. So if you're a leader in an organisation that wants to look at how it gets rolled out internally, we've got a lot of experience with that as well. So great to talk to you today, Lyn. And I look forward to the diploma starts tomorrow, doesn't it?
It sure does. I can't wait to jump on tomorrow morning. Nice and early my time.
I was going to say early start for you. That's great. Awesome. All right. Thanks, Lyn.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening, everyone.